Welcome in, everybody. Chris Stewart filling in for Eli tonight, who is over on the University of Alabama campus as the MC for the Bryant Society dinner, decked out in a tux. It's a good look for anybody, but it's a good look for Eli. But I'm glad to be here at Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa, hosting the show tonight. Tom Stipe alongside, pushing the buttons. The guy making sure that we get on the air back in our CTSN studios is Jerry Kelly. And as he was with us for the end of our first half hour, we are so pleased to have Vern Lundquist with us here in Tuscaloosa, still with CBS.
Yes.
You're still working, just not doing any college football these days.
I'm heavily invested in 2 events a year.
Right. Good ones, too.
Yeah, they are. The Masters and PGA Championship. So my first Augusta was in 1983. And with the exception of 2 years in the late 90s, I've been there every year. And when we agreed, for me, it was time for me to step aside from both football and basketball. I was ready. Right. And Sean McManus, our boss, and I talked about it in the spring of '16. And the transition to Brad Nessler was just smooth as could be. Brad and Gary, I've been asked a lot, mostly by Gary, what do you do on Saturday? And I said, well, Nancy and I put our feet up on the coffee table. We turn on CBS. I listen to you guys come on the air, and then I yell and scream at you both. It's almost like being back in the booth.
Right. Not quite the same, but almost. I couldn't believe it was 83 was your first year at Augusta?
Yeah.
Still, I can't believe it's just 3 years into it. 2 years, 3 years into it, you were doing maybe.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Greatest golf analysis I've ever heard. It was fantastic.
Well, of course, Jack Nicklaus made the 12-foot putt at the age of 46 on the 17th hole. It was my first year working that particular hole. And he had just a miraculous back nine. Nobody had given him a shot. And here he was. A lot of circumstances occurred. But he was standing on the 17th tee, a par 4. And he was tied for the lead with Seve Ballesteros. So he puts it 12 feet above the hole. And I talked to myself, not out loud, but I said, make sure you keep it simple and get out of the way. So the answer was maybe yes, sir.
And it was a great call, and I'm assuming that is part of the book.
Yes, yes, it is.
I would think so. We're going to talk more about the book. As you may have heard, I started to say we've got a guest. Instead, we've got the man of the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Nick Saban. Coach, good to see you.
How's everybody?
Doing
Vern?
well.
Doing great,
see you
Nick.
again.
That's great to see you.
Yeah, this guy's a legend. One of the best ever.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'll tell you what, I have so much appreciation for all the years and interest that you brought to the game for so many players and entertainment to the fans.
Chris will talk about this. Oh, we got feedback. Anyway, I have written a book. We're doing a book signing in Birmingham on Sunday. And Nick was kind enough, and I have never had a chance to thank you in person. If you look at the back cover, there's a blurb, the first one, most prominent, from this guy. And if you don't think I was thrilled when I saw that, I thank you for it.
Well, you certainly deserve it, and we appreciate you, and we're just happy that we could do something to support you and all that you've done for our game.
First time back since the Iron Bowl in 2016. And I was telling Chris, I mean, we love this place. And here I go. I'm just emotional by nature, and to come back for the first time since the Iron Bowl then is such a thrill for us, and we're going to be spectators Saturday night. And I can't wait. I was asked, when was the last time you ever watched a game as a spectator? 1971. I started doing the Cowboy radio broadcast in '72, and it's been continuous ever since.
Well, I can't remember the last game I watched as a spectator.
I
can tell you that. But and I guess it'd probably be fun. I guess one of these days, you know, people talk about tailgating. I've never done that either. Just some simple things in life that you kind of, you know, I'm not saying I miss it, but I just never ever got to do it.
Please don't ruin these people's dinner, Coach, by you talking about retirement and watching
no,
games
I'm
for
not.
fun.
I'm not talking about that at all.
I just want to make sure we are.
I'm not talking about that at all.
No.
But we'll see if we can get you on full scholarship this weekend.
Oh,
all right?
I'd love that.
All right,
yeah.
well, we'll take care of it.
I know people now. Maybe I'd get a sideline pass.
All you got to do is ask.
Oh,
You're sitting by the right guy.
I do understand that. Again, it's so great for us to be back. That was my last Alabama game, and over the 17 years, I can't imagine that, both on the road. Ironically enough, I've only done one game in Columbia, Missouri, and I know you'll remember this. It was Alabama, Missouri, and that lightning and thunderstorm hit.
I remember that.
It was terrible.
That was actually the longest delay and the worst storm ever in my coaching career.
Wow.
It was tough.
Well, Gary and I were sitting in the booth, and Bryant Denny is a little better, more comfortable than Columbia. And because Alabama was there, they had a full house. And I remember when they stopped the game, we could see nothing but taillights going north. And Gary and I had a wager on how many of those folks would come back. And we both said about 10,000. That's about where it was.
We had a pretty good team that year, though.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
By the way, Nick, and we just came from New York, and I was on the air with one of my favorite players twice, Greg McElroy. And I've got so many great memories about him and the role he fulfilled here. Yeah.
Well, you know, Greg is great. Greg actually did our game last week. And, you know, I guess it was a couple weeks ago I made a comment about how I wasn't surprised that he's done so well in broadcasting, and I used an adjective that he didn't think was too becoming. So he was a little upset about all that. And I said, you know, if that's the worst ass chewing you ever get from me, don't worry about it.
I've got a feeling it wasn't, though, all time, was
No,
it?
I don't think so
Top
either.
five.
It was nice. It was a joke, I told him.
Well, I remember the last game that we did when he was here, and he's such a congenial guy.
Classy
and
guy.
Great intelligence. And I don't think I've ever had this done before. Greg came in and sat with Gary Danielson and me and Tracy Wolfson at the time. And then we thanked him and got up, and he went into the media room, and all of a sudden he comes back in. And he said, I don't mean to interrupt, but it occurred to me I probably won't see you guys again, and I just want to come and thank you for how you've treated me. Now, that's rare.
Yeah, that's something. But that's the kind of guy he is, and that's why he's having a lot of success now, and so many people think so much of him.
Yeah.
Coach, how's the week been?
Good. You know, we got a lot of things to get better at, and I thought the players worked hard, and, you know, hopefully we'll improve. I know this team we're playing is certainly one of the best offensive teams in the country. They got a really good quarterback. They got great balance on offense. They run the ball for over 200 yards a game and throw it for 300 and average over 500 yards a game. And they could be very easily 5-0. You know, Georgia scored 2 non-offensive touchdowns against them. Picked up fumble, ran for a touchdown early in the game, and a punt return for a touchdown, or that game would be very, very close. And last week they were way ahead of South Carolina, and the rainstorm came, and that affected them a little bit. Had some bad plays on special teams. So this quarterback and the skill guys that they have and the balance that they have on offense, and they've got a good front seven on defense too that is second in the SEC in run defense. So they're tough to run the ball against. So this is going to be a challenging game for us, and I think a real key game for us. I mean, we lost basically a very good leader in the secondary in Trayvon Diggs, an area he was probably our best corner, and you know, it's going to create an opportunities for other guys to step up, and hopefully they'll do a good job in this game this week. But we've had a good week all week.
The Nick Saban Show is presented by Alpha Insurance. Coach, I'm just a temp, but I do remember doing this every couple of years that we go to our first caller, brought to you by Alabama 811, and Alabama 811 reminds you to call them. Call 811, that is, before you dig, or visit al811.com. When we go to that first call, I do remember who it is. Pee-wee, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Chris.
Pee-wee, what's going on, man?
Enjoying a little bit of cool weather that we're getting, Coach. First thing, it's going to be a very nice weekend in town this weekend for homecoming. Before I ask the question, I would like to say something, if I could, please, sir. I know that Miss Terry is sitting there in there this evening, and I would like to thank her, Athletic Director Greg Vine, and everybody that was involved in bringing the Dixieland Delight song back to the stadium during the game. I'd just like to ask that people respect what's being asked and done and do this the correct way. We always talk about how we as Alabama fans have class. Well, it's time to show how much class you have by walking the walk and talking the talk. But I just wanted to say thank you very much for that.
Well, I appreciate that, Pee-wee, and I'd like to reiterate what you said. You know, the reason that, you know, it's a great tradition and something I really enjoy, and one of the traditions that I always remember about being here at Alabama is playing that song at the games, and everybody singing and having a good time with it. And because abuse brings control in anything that you do, you know, it got taken away, and it got taken away probably for a good reason, and I hope all the people who embrace it now will be able to hold everybody accountable to do it the right way so that everybody can continue to enjoy that tradition in the future. So you have a question, Pee-wee?
Yes, sir. You know, earlier in the year when the season started, you had made a comment about our defense, how we were going to be very young and inexperienced this year, and that our offense at some point in time may have to try and carry the team instead of the defense, how it's been done for so many years. You know, I just want to ask, we have a very prolific offense this year and able to score a lot of points. But I think a lot of that has to do with Mike Loxley and Dan Enos. I was just wondering, how do you see how they work together as a team to send that through our offense, to be able to operate the way that we do?
That's right. Well, you know, those guys, look, our entire offensive staff does a really good job. You know, we've got a good offensive line coach. We've got a good receiver coach. You know, Mike does a good job. Dan does a good job. Tight end coach does a good job. Joe Panunzio. They all work really well together. We had a good system and scheme here that they just added a few things to, mostly in the RPO game, but most of the rest of the pass offense is what we did last year, and all the running game is pretty much what we did last year. So it's how you apply these things in a game, I think, that's really important. And I think what we've done the best job of this year with our offensive staff, entire staff, is they keep the players out of negative plays. And the players are smart enough. You know, Ross does a great job at center, making all the line calls and knowing exactly what the other team's going to do. And he's very well prepared all the time and makes very few mistakes up front. And the quarterbacks are very well schooled in every game of exactly what they have to do, where they're going to run the ball relative to the look they get, when they can throw an RPO strong, when they can throw one weak, what their movement key is whether they should hand the ball off or throw the RPO. So the preparation has really been the best I think we've ever had in terms of, and it eliminates a lot of negative plays because we're always in the highest percentage thing. And I think you got to give all the coaches credit for that. Mike obviously is responsible for it as a coordinator, but I think the people that we've had here in the past, you know, all the offensive coordinators we had here in the last few years, whether it was Lane, you know, all the coordinators we had here, they've all contributed to developing this system. Mike put his twist on it, and now it's, you know, been very effective for the players, and we've been very efficient at running it, and we have the right kind of players to run it. All right, so I think that's something that can't be overlooked. When you got 4 really good explosive receivers and really good runners, you got a lot of people that are weapons that you can utilize, and the good players make you look good. And we have a lot of good players that have done a great job this year.
We appreciate the phone call as always, Pee Wee. We'll get back to our Academy Sports and Outdoors hotline when we come back and visit more with head coach Nick Saban and our special guest tonight, Vern Lundquist, continuing after this on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
2-0 with the double clef on a play action fake and a roll right. He throws to Smith. First down outside the contain. Up the right sideline. He stays in bounds. He is going to go 76 yards. See ya. How about that?
Here at Baumhauer's Victory Grill, the Tuscaloosa location, our media guest, Vern Lundquist. Hey, Coach, and the Nick Saban Show continuing on. Did I say Crimson Tide Rewind? That's our Monday show from the Birmingham Baumhauer. So
okay.
I was concerned I would do that.
Bob has done very well, hasn't he?
Bob's done great.
Yeah,
He
I
really
can tell.
putting that Alabama degree
Yes.
to good work. He has done that for quite a while. For you, you're talking about missing being away from the college football scene. What's the number one thing you miss about it?
I think Fridays. There is a perception among a lot of people that we have the cushiest job in the world. You show up Saturday at noon, you do the game 3.5 hours, you hop in your private jet and you fly home. That doesn't happen. It's a week-long process of preparation, but let me say this about the guy sitting to my right. We meet with Nick every time we come to Tuscaloosa, half an hour. He's got to be pulled out of our meeting because he's got this thing called Nick at Noon. You're still doing that? Yeah. And but I've been the happy recipient in my perception of all this that when Nick walks in and he closes the door, and I've had two partners, Todd Blackledge, Gary Danielson, and Nick has shown such respect for both of those guys and the knowledge they have about the game. I just sit back, and I'm the happy recipient of the information they pass back and forth. And it always comes into play on Saturday. And then just the games themselves.
I think that one of the things that Vern's talking about that really amazes me is everybody thinks that you just come in and start talking about the game.
Right.
But the preparation, they always, when I go in this meeting with the people that I meet with the media that's going to do the game, the crew, they have stuff laid out, man, and they've memorized the depth chart, both sides of the ball, both teams have some very interesting questions. They've all watched film of, what the offense does, defense, and they've got some, interpretations of what you may need to do or what's important to win the game. So this is not something that somebody just walks in and does. Right. It takes a tremendous amount of preparation and a tremendous amount of work. Just like we don't, just go play the game. I mean, we spend, about 15 hours on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday trying to figure out how to do what we need to do to be able to win the game and how we need to do it and present to the players so they have a chance to go out and execute it and then get the repetitions in practice to prepare them to do it. So what you do is no different than what we do in terms of how much work goes into it. I don't think many people out there really realize that.
A quick story about Gary and me. As you guys both know, we could not have more diverse personalities. And we've made it work. We did make it work for 11 years. But I'm a much more gregarious guy than Gary is, just by nature. And every time we're at Alabama, I look forward to seeing him Saturday night. Eli comes over, and he just wants to say, and I'm up on the second level of the broadcast booth sharing stories with him. And Gary is over in the lower level in the corner, and he's got the blinders on. And he was quoted in the newspaper article about how we both respond to in our pregame, our on-location game preparation. And he said he's up there swapping stories and high-fiving guys, and I'm over here trying to get my work done. I would no sooner do that than put an ice pick in my eye.
But I think that one of the things that made you so good at what you did, Vern, was the fact that, you're talking to people out there who are laymen who need to understand what's happening in the game, in sort of simple terms, you know, not too technical. And sometimes I think I worry about me getting too technical when I talk about things to fans and people, and Nick at Noon, and even on this radio show. But you had sort of a way to be able to get things across in a very simple manner that people could, you know, I think they embrace that. And I think that's one of the gifts that you had that made you really special.
Coach, we got our first question from the audience, and it's brought to you by AL.com. Merrill's got a gentleman right here. AL.com's Ask the Coach. Tell us your name and go ahead.
I'm Rick Edmonds. I'm from Brent, Alabama.
Hey, Rick, how are you?
Fine. Sir, what is your most memorable game here at Alabama?
Oh, man. You're talking about...
Oh, go ahead, pick one.
Well, I guess if I had to pick one, it would probably be the Rose Bowl game, the first national championship game in 2009 against Texas. Only because in just the third year of being here, we took not so good a team, 6-16, and all these players, some were here, some were new guys, some came here like, you know, Julio Jones and Rolando McClain and a bunch of guys that, Mark Barron, they all came here. We weren't any good. We weren't any good. But they were highly recruited guys, and they believed in what we were trying to do and what we were going to do. But they came here not because we were 12-0 or we're going to win a national championship. They came here because they wanted to build something and do something special for the state of Alabama, the university, and the tradition of the school. And they all bought into it, and we sort of took all those guys that were here, and they bought into it, and we had pretty good recruits for a couple of years, and they were pretty young guys. And Texas had a really good team. The Rose Bowl was a great atmosphere, and that's probably, if I had to pick one, not that all the championship games were special. The ones, the one I think about the most, and the one that bothers me the most is the one that we lost. But if you want a best memory, I guess it would have to be the first one.
You've seen a few of those.
I have.
You've witnessed a few of those. You've called a few championship games that this gentleman was involved with as well. The chance to see him. Haven't you done a couple of those?
Not national
Not the
championship,
national,
no.
no, but the SEC.
SEC in
games.
Atlanta, absolutely, yeah.
And that, Coach, that championship game, I guess, development and preparation for your program when you first went there, and that wasn't the results you wanted, but it's amazing how that was a building block for what happened in the future with your teams and your program.
Well, I think that's a great, you know, we went over there and played Florida. They were number one. We were number two. I think we're undefeated, but Tebow was a junior. They were a really good team, and it was a very close game in the fourth quarter, and we got a 3rd and 5 where we got them stopped, and we got a face mask, and they got a first down and went down and scored, and that was kind of the difference in the game. So then the next year, the very same team who lost in that game to Florida now goes back and plays them again. Florida won the national championship when they beat us, and then we were fortunate enough the next year that was 2009 when we went on to beat Texas. So, but that was a great win too, beating Florida, because they were heavily favored in the game, and you're talking about Greg McElroy had a fabulous game in that game and really played well on defense. And you know, Florida had an outstanding team, and everybody thought they were going to win the national championship again. So that was pretty special. We've had a lot of special games here. We've had a lot of special moments. So to pick one out is almost not fair.
We will continue with more of Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show. We're here at Baumhauer's Victory Grill, the Tuscaloosa location, visiting with Coach, visiting with Vern Lundquist here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
To the left side, Josh Jacobs, play action fake, throw on the slant, Judy makes the grab, outraces everybody, near sideline 30, 20 down the right sideline, 10, 5, touchdown Alabama, 60 yards, Tua to Jerry Judy. My goodness gracious, it happens instantaneously.
Welcome back, everybody, to Hey Coach, presented by Alpha Insurance. For the best agents in the business, call Alpha. Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show. I'm Chris Stewart, filling in for Eli Gold tonight. Vern Lundquist, our media guest. He is in town tonight. He's going to be a spectator on Saturday at Bryant-Denny Stadium as Alabama takes on Missouri at 6 o'clock, taking on the Tigers. And then Sunday, you're going to be at the Brookwood Village location of Books A Million. That is just south of Birmingham. You'll be there signing your new book, Play-by-Play, calling the wildest games in sports.
I've done a few of them.
A few.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to, I was just telling Chris during the break, Nancy and I flew in from New York today, and that was a travel adventure. But I was there to do a publicity tour, and Nancy read the book. She's almost finished with it. And she, on the drive down here, she said, "You know what? This is really good."
Like
and I
she was
said,
surprised, right?
That's the highest compliment I'm ever going to get about the book. But the process, Chris, was brand new to me. And it's a totally different animal in terms of getting the product into the publisher's hands. And I need to do a shout out for Gary Brozek. He's the ghostwriter. I mentioned I had back surgery in November, and the process of rehab was not as fast as I thought. So in the middle of it all, HarperCollins, the publisher, said, "We know you're struggling. Let's do a ghostwriter." So Gary Brozek and we would talk 4 times a week. It was transcribed by a call center. Gary would write a chapter, send it to me for my approval, and I'd fact check it and send it back to him, and he'd send it to New York. So I owe him a huge amount of thanks for the effort he put in.
Look forward to reading it. Coach Saban's back on stage with us here at Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa. Coach, as always, a packed house, great Alabama fans here, but we've got some from a little further away than usual. One of the great traditions in Alabama is the support of the Alabama Booster Club from Bridgeport, Pennsylvania.
I just saw him over there.
Yeah, Johnny Nicolas, the president of the Alabama Booster Club from Bridgeport, PA. Great to have you folks here as part of a history and tradition that goes, of course, many years back.
Yeah, they sure do, and they always come to a game, and all those guys were really good friends of Miles, and brings back a lot of memories because you guys are really special to Mal, and he appreciated your support and friendship. So appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Let's talk a little bit more about the Missouri Tigers, your opposition for this weekend, that 6 o'clock kick. Hadn't had a night game at Bryant-Denny. It's good to have one, but a team that can certainly cause some problems with what they do through the air, and also not too bad on the run game as well, Coach.
Well, I think one of the things that they do that most laymen probably wouldn't realize, because it's all going to look the same to you, is they use a lot of multiple personnel groups. You know, Derek Dooley's the offensive coordinator, used to be on our staff, and so he was with us in Miami and then went to the Dallas Cowboys and was there for 3 or 4 years. So they do a lot of multiples of things that create a lot of adjustments for players. I think it's going to be a test for our defensive players, especially, to be able to, make the adjustments that they need to make in the game and be in sound positions and be able to stop the run and the pass. All these fastball teams, and I don't know that people really understand how this game has sort of evolved. They all have RPOs. They all go fast. If they convert a third down, they go fast. They got all these fastball plays. All right, but when it gets to third down, all right, they slow down. All right, and they kick their foot up or clap their hands or whatever it is they do for cadence, especially when there's noise. And then they see what the defense is in. And then they look at the sidelines, and the coach tells them what to run. It's almost like one side is taking an open book test, the offense, and the other side can't use their book. All right, but that's the way it is. All right, so defensive players, and this is when you have experienced, mature players. All right, they understand how to disguise things, how to change things, and you can actually kill from one thing to another. All right, when they look over, all right, you can get your guys into a new signal. All right, so you're not always playing the worst thing that you could be in, because they're going to pick the best thing that they could be in based on what you're in. So if you're in inside leverage, they're going to run out breaking routes. If you're in outside leverage, you're going to break in breaking routes. So this is going to be a real key to our players, and their quarterback is a good quarterback, and he figures it out, and he knows where he's going to go with the ball. And when he knows when he's going to go with the ball, and he sees what he thinks he's going to get, and that's what it is, he gets rid of it quickly, and he knows where, and he's got good players to throw it to. So this is a little different game from that standpoint than what we've been playing. This is more of a pro-style type of approach, and we really worked hard with our players this week to try to understand exactly how they need to work to defend that.
Coach, we've got another individual who wants to ask a question. Ask the coach, the AL.com question. Merrill's got somebody else here. Tell us your name, please, and go ahead and get Coach a question.
Jonathan Clark. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee.
Hey, John, how are you?
Hey, good, Coach. Hey, so I know you were talking about, the quarterback Drew Lock from Missouri. He's coming to town this weekend. How do you feel that he differs from some of the other quarterbacks that you've seen this year? And do you think the defense is prepared well this week for it?
Well, yeah, we had some changes on defense, but I think the players have worked hard and responded well. And I think that the players actually were a little disappointed, after the last game and the way they played at Arkansas. So this is a different kind of quarterback in that he is more a pro-style quarterback. The guy's got a really good arm. He's not going to be one of those guys he will run the ball on occasion if you really cheat on defense, but that's not his deal. He's going to beat you throwing the ball. If you play bump and run, he's going to give the guy a hang loose sign, and the guy's going to take off, and they're going to try to beat you deep. All right, they're going to do all the things that pro teams do in the passing game to try to beat you. And then, if they get you in an advantage situation, they have no problem running the ball. So this is a balanced offensive attack, and the best offensive team by far and the best quarterback by far we've seen all year long. And they've got really good skill players, and they got a really good tight end, number 81. So this is going to be a very challenging game for us defensively. And, their defense is a very good front seven. I mean, they're second in rushing defense. So it's going to be a challenge for our offense, too. But we're going to have to win games this year as a team. And, it's interesting that, people sometimes, every team has issues and problems. And I hate it. Because all I hear about our team is how great we are. I actually had an interview today with ESPN who's trying to write an article like this is the best team ever. And I said, wait a while. I said, we got all kind of problems on our team. Like every team has problems. Every team has guys get hurt. Every team has areas of their team that have weaknesses that they're trying to overcome. They've got players who have problems. They got players who have trouble learning, who you're trying to bring along. You got inexperienced players playing. I mean, every team has that. But people seem to look at our team like a convertible, like a really nice convertible going down the road, nice shiny wheels, really nice-looking girl driving. And everybody sees that. They don't see the oil leaking, and they don't see the bald tires. All they see is the girl and the car and the convertible. All right, so we all got problems. Every team's got them. I mean, everybody's got to, sort of understand that you're always having issues on your team, and you're trying to overcome obstacles. And and our team is no different than that. And until you put a whole body of work in for a whole season and show that you can play with consistency, and the most important thing is, can you improve through the course of the season in every aspect of your team? And sometimes that's more difficult to do, especially when you have injuries and you lose experienced players. But all those things, to me, is what makes a team great. All right, what's your total body of work at the end of the year? So I hate it. I hate it when people, sort of make these sort of assumptions and analogies about our team, and it really creates an unrealistic expectation. And, no disrespect, Vern, but some of the people in the media, they write that kind of stuff so then when you do get beat, they can kill you for it. All right, and I know it's happening. I can't do anything about it, and I want our players to know it's happening too, so that they can keep their mind in the right place, because it's important that their accountability to what they're doing is really important to each other. You know, somebody called me today and asked me a question about some media guy this week said, well, your team has never had to play under pressure because they've been ahead in every game. I said, you know, our team plays not because of the other team and the pressure the other team puts on. The pressure on our team is the pressure they put on themselves to play to the standard that we have for each one of them and for each unit that they play on, and the standard that our team needs to play to so that we can continue to get better. So we need to be putting pressure on ourselves all the time, and that means every individual has to be accountable for his role on the team and take ownership. And you can say that, but when you walk in the locker room at the end of the game, can you look at your teammate and he knows you did it and you know he did it, and then everybody did it? That's when you got something. And you know, we're still working on that part, all right, because that means there's a witness that you did your best. Your teammate, all right, and you're accountable to each other, all right, and then everybody's sort of, you know, you say, everybody uses the term, hold each other accountable. What does that mean? Does it mean you let somebody do what they want to do? They don't feel like practicing today, so that's okay? Is that holding them accountable? Holding them accountable is just what I'm talking about, and everybody looks at everybody and says, he did it. I did it. There's witnesses all over that everybody did it. And if we could get everybody to do that on our team, they walk in the locker room, they look at each other, and everybody knows that they held each other accountable, all right, and that there's witnesses all around the town that agrees on that, we'll keep getting better and we'll be pretty good.
There was an awful lot, Vern. There was an awful lot to learn in that answer, but I think the most important thing we learned is that Miss Terry drove a convertible growing up in West Virginia. That's what it sounded like anyway.
It sure did. I know I'll never forget the analogy. I promise you that.
On that note, we'll take our final break, and then we'll come back for the final word. Not our final break, but our next break, and we're back with more of Hey Coach, the Nick Saban Show here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Here's a second down and 10 from the 40. A bit of a low snap. Taken off the kneecap by Story. Throws it. It's tipped. Intercepted by Shaheem Carter. Carter down the far sideline. Carter to the 20. Carter accelerates 15. Down the right sideline. 10-5. Touchdown, Alabama. Off a tip of Dylan Moses. It goes right into the hands of Shaheem Carter. And he'll run it back for a touchdown.
You know the voice you just heard. It's the voice of the Tide, Eli Gold. Normally you would hear it right now, but he's away on assignment tonight. He's put on the tux. He's over at the University of Alabama, Master of Ceremonies for the Bryant Society Dinner. Eli will be back with you next Monday. I'm Chris Stewart alongside Vern Lundquist, Coach Nick Saban, greeting a packed house again here at Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa. This is a place you've seen many times, or it's a scene that you've encountered many times with Coach.
I have, and it's one of the many things about visiting here that makes it so special. I'm going to get a shout out to Gary, who owns the hamburger joint on the corner of Wallace Wade and Bear Bryant. Yeah. We always manage to stop in for a hamburger at his place, and he's got more paraphernalia and memorabilia than any place I've ever seen. So
it's neat.
Good to be back.
Part of the environment, and we're so glad to have you back in town. And Coach, we've got I think time for one call real quick. Let's go to the Academy Sports and Outdoors hotline. Emily in Tennessee with a question for you, Coach. Go ahead, Emily.
Hi, Coach Saban.
Hi, Emily. How are you?
I'm blessed. I just have one question for you.
Okay.
So your offense is it's looking okay. I mean, it could be better. But your defense, what is going on with your defense? I've watched the last game, and, I mean, you're just getting killed in defense. Could you please put them into shape?
Yeah, Miss Emily, I kind of feel the same way. We didn't play very well in the last game, and you know, we gave up 24 points even when you know, a lot of the starters were playing, and we gave up one right at the end of the game, which was, you know, with the twos. But you know, we made a lot of mental errors in the game, and I think that we started out playing pretty well in the game early on, and we started making mental errors, and it kind of just steamrolled on us, and you know, we just didn't play very well, and it's our responsibility as coaches to get our guys better prepared for it. But I think with a few of the injuries that we've had and the other new players coming in that, you know, need to step up, we need to bring them along so that their inexperience is something that they can overcome very quickly so that we can play at the kind of level that we want to play at. But I think that, you know, sometimes I said early in the season that we would have a little different kind of team here this year, that we're going to be very talented on offense, we're going to be very young on defense, and the defense would be a work in progress at some time, you know, throughout the year, and that our offense would have to play extremely well. And, you know, that's kind of how it's been so far, and we want to try to get our defense better, and we're going to work really hard at trying to do that.
Coach, it's time for the final word already. It's presented by Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Coach?
Yeah, well, you know, and I don't really want anybody out there to think that, look, it's not playing at home, it's not playing in homecoming. It's really the players that play in the stadium that's going to make a difference in the game. All right, but I'm going to tell you something that I think in this particular game with a no-huddle team that's going to try to go fast, these guys are averaging 91 plays a game on offense, which is a lot, and they're really good, that there is a tremendous effect that the crowd can have on the game if you make noise when they have the ball. It makes it harder for us to communicate on defense, but I'll take that trade-off every day in the week because it'll help us in pass rush, it'll help us to beat them off the snap, they'll have to go silent count. I think it's really, really important, and I think that, you know, so far this year, we had a great crowd at Texas A&M. We had great enthusiasm in the stadium, but, you know, people are always asking me about opportunities to play better teams. This is a better team. This is a good team that we're playing. This is a team that could very easily be 5-0, and this is something that everybody needs to get fired up about. And you know, hopefully our players are going to be in the right state of mind, and hopefully our stadium and our fans are going to be in the right state of mind. You know, there's one other thing that I wanted to say is, you know, I did stop at this, you know, gathering that we had of the Bryant Society, which is, you know, $1 million donors to the athletic department, and it's a pretty special group of people. And if it wasn't for people like that who support the program, you know, I don't think we'd have the program that we have now. The facilities that we have, the way we can create value for our players in personal development programs, academic support, great coaches to help them develop career development people. I mean, that kind of support is really, really important, and I want those people to know that we really appreciate that. And the other thing that I wanted to make mention of today is, you know, this is a pretty ugly storm that we had down in Florida Panhandle and some parts of Alabama and Georgia. And, you know, anybody that can do anything out there to help these people, I think that would be great. You know, Terry and I are trying to do a little stuff with High Socks for Hope, and Emily and Howard Wise, who own Saginaw Pipe in Birmingham, are all trying to get together and get some loads of stuff down there to help these people and decide, you know, who has the greatest need. So anybody else can make some contributions. I know a lot of people are in need and would appreciate that.
We always appreciate you. Thank you so much, Coach. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks, Vern. Great seeing you.
Thank
again,
you,
buddy.
Nick.
Great to have you.
Always great.
You're always welcome.
Thank you so much.